A growing tide. The surge in illegal migration to Europe. The number of migrants risking their lives to reach Europe is staggering. In 2023 alone, over 385,000 individuals crossed illegally into Europe. This represents nearly 3 times the number from just 3 years prior. Over the past decade, 29 million migrants have arrived in Europe. The continent faces an unprecedented influx of people seeking refuge and opportunity. The perilous voyage, a desperate gamble with life and death. The journey from Africa to Europe is fraught with danger. Migrants face a perilous odyssey across land and sea, often at the mercy of unscrupulous smugglers. The Mediterranean Sea, a symbol of ancient trade and cultural exchange, has become a watery graveyard for countless souls. In 2023 alone, over 3,000 migrants lost their lives attempting to cross the Mediterranean. Since 2014, the death toll has surpassed a staggering 29,500. These figures represent only the known casualties. The actual number is likely much higher. The Canary Islands route, increasingly favored by smugglers, has also claimed a significant number of lives. In 2024, approximately 6,000 migrants perished on this treacherous passage. The dangers are not limited to the sea. Migrants face extortion, violence, and inhumane treatment at the hands of smugglers. They often endure grueling journeys across deserts and war-torn regions, facing hunger, thirst, and exposure to the elements. Women and children are particularly vulnerable to abuse and exploitation along these perilous routes. Pathways to peril, mapping the routes of African migration. Understanding the geography of illegal migration is crucial to comprehending its complexities. Several well-established routes serve as conduits for the flow of migrants from Africa to Europe. The central Mediterranean route, originating in North Africa and leading to Italy and Malta, was the most traveled in 2023. Over 157,000 crossings were recorded on this route. The Libyan city of Sfax has emerged as a major departure point due to its proximity to Europe and the presence of well-established smuggling networks. The Canary Islands route, a perilous sea crossing from West Africa to the Spanish archipelago, has witnessed a sharp increase in traffic. This surge is partly driven by increased patrols and security measures along other routes. These journeys are often meticulously planned by criminal networks that profit from human desperation. Smugglers operate with impunity in many regions, exploiting the desperation of migrants and exposing them to immense risks for financial gain. Reaching the shores, arrival points, and the harsh realities. Reaching European shores does not signify the end of hardship for many migrants. Arrival points are often overwhelmed by the sheer number of people seeking entry, leading to strained resources and challenging conditions. Lampedusa, a small Italian island located between Tunisia and Sicily, has become a primary entry point for migrants crossing the central Mediterranean. It receives an estimated 70% of all seaborne arrivals to Italy. The island, ill-equipped to handle such a large influx, grapples with overcrowding and inadequate reception facilities. Migrants often find themselves living in cramped and unsanitary conditions, lacking access to basic necessities such as food, water, and medical care. The situation highlights the humanitarian crisis unfolding at Europe's borders and the urgent need for sustainable solutions. The reception and integration of migrants vary widely across European countries. Some nations offer support and pathways to legal status, while others struggle to cope with the influx. The lack of a unified European approach has created inconsistencies and exacerbated the challenges. Section 5: Root causes: the desperate flight from conflict and poverty. Understanding the drivers of illegal migration is crucial. Conflict, poverty, and climate change compel individuals to risk everything. Countries like Afghanistan, Syria, and Ukraine face mass displacement. Addressing migration requires conflict resolution and sustainable development. A global effort is needed to create a world where people are not forced to flee. Section 6: Fortress Europe, the evolving response to illegal migration. The surge in illegal migration has prompted a range of responses from European nations and the European Union as a whole. These responses reflect a complex mix of humanitarian concerns, security anxieties, and political considerations. In April 2024, the EU passed a new migration policy deal aimed at establishing a more unified and robust approach. The deal seeks to balance responsibility sharing among member states with tougher border security measures. However, it has faced criticism from both sides of the political spectrum, with some arguing it is too lenient and others deeming it inhumane. Individual nations have adopted their own strategies. Spain, on the front line of the migration crisis, advocates for controlled migration to address its aging population and labour market needs. The country is emphasizing the integration of migrants and has developed a strategy for Africa to foster economic and social transformation in African countries, thereby addressing the root causes of migration. Despite these efforts, the EU has yet to find a comprehensive and sustainable solution to the challenges posed by illegal migration. The ongoing debate reflects the complexity of the issue and the difficulty of reconciling diverse perspectives and interests. Section 7. Political tremors. How migration is reshaping Europe's landscape. The influx of migrants has sent shockwaves through European politics, influencing electoral outcomes and fueling social tensions. The issue of migration has become increasingly polarized, with far-right anti-immigration parties exploiting public anxieties for political gain. Across Europe, parties with nationalist and populist agendas have gained traction by capitalizing on fears about cultural change, economic strain, and security threats. They often portray migrants as a burden on society and a threat to national identity. The rise of these parties has shifted the political discourse to the right, putting pressure on mainstream parties to adopt tougher stances on immigration. This has led to a hardening of attitudes towards migrants in some quarters and made it more challenging to implement humane and sustainable policies. The June 2025 European Parliament elections are expected to be pivotal in shaping the future direction of migration policy. The outcome will likely influence the EU's approach to border control, asylum procedures, and integration efforts. Section 8. Stemming the flow. Collaborative efforts to combat smuggling. Recognizing the role of human smuggling in fueling illegal migration, European nations and the EU are intensifying efforts to dismantle smuggling networks and address the root causes that enable their operations. Agreements have been signed with countries like Mauritania and Gambia to combat people smuggling and facilitate the return of illegal migrants to their countries of origin. These agreements aim to disrupt smuggling routes, bring perpetrators to justice, and establish more orderly migration processes. Spain, facing a significant influx of migrants via the Canary Islands route, is pushing for increased EU Frontex patrols along African coastlines. The goal is to deter migrants from embarking on perilous journeys and to intercept smuggling vessels before they reach European shores. However, tackling human smuggling requires addressing the underlying factors that drive people into the hands of smugglers. This involves promoting economic development, improving governance, and addressing conflict and instability in countries of origin. It also requires tackling corruption and strengthening law enforcement capabilities to dismantle smuggling networks effectively. Section 9. Conclusion. The enduring crisis, challenges and imperatives. The issue of illegal migration from Africa to Europe is a complex and multifaceted challenge with no easy solutions. It is a humanitarian crisis, a political dilemma, and a moral imperative for Europe. The human cost of this crisis is immeasurable. Thousands of men, women, and children risk their lives each year seeking safety and a better future, only to meet with peril, exploitation, or death. The images of overcrowded boats, desperate faces, and bodies washing ashore serve as a stark reminder of the human toll of this tragedy. Addressing this crisis requires a comprehensive and multifaceted approach. It necessitates collaborative efforts between European nations, African countries, and the international community. It demands a commitment to addressing the root causes of migration, strengthening border security, combating human smuggling, and ensuring humane treatment for those seeking refuge. Ultimately, the response to illegal migration will define Europe's values and its role in the world. It presents an opportunity for the continent to demonstrate its commitment to human rights, compassion, and international cooperation. Failure to address this crisis effectively will have far-reaching consequences, not only for Europe but for the global community as a whole.